Welcome back, YouTube. We are back with another video, and this one is about the truth about cheat meals, or as I like to call them, social meals. And we're going to be talking everything cheat meals as they are well known as, and essentially how they can be utilized, what are they, and why they aren't the worst thing in the world. And again, this is all very relevant to where you're currently at, whether it be a building phase or a dieting phase. And if you're wondering, what is this? Why are you wearing a big fleece, a big sheep-like fleece? It's because it's cold in this office today. And I mean, I suppose I could put the heating on, but this is comfy as well, so 2 in 1. Anyway, straight into the video. I always kind of talk to my guys on the team, my clients, that we don't want to label it as a cheat meal. Okay, I think cheat meals aren't necessarily bad, but the way you use them might be. But I think the word cheat meal is instantly demonizing something that isn't on your plan, your meal plan. And the word cheat is bad. You know, if you cheat on your partner in a relationship, it's awful. If you cheat on an exam, it's really bad. Cheat meal, you don't need to call it that. It's just some food that isn't on your plan. So in the situation that my clients would be in, or myself, it's simply just a social meal because you're having it off your plan, or you can call it an off-plan meal. You can have it that's not on your plan, outside of your plan, in a social environment, typically. And this is obviously, we'll get into the video in a second in terms of when to have them and why not just to use them for the sake of it. So let's talk about how to include them without ruining your progress firstly. So the first slide, like I've already mentioned, is reframe them. Don't call them cheat meals, call them social meals or just off plan. But then even off plan seems like, oh, I'm off plan, like, you know what I mean? This is why I've kind of reframed it as social. It's just a social meal, okay? The word cheat implies guilt or that you've done something wrong. You've not done something wrong. You've not committed a felony. You're not going to go to jail for having some food off plan. So just reframe it, okay? But don't get carried away and be like, oh, but it's a social meal. And coincidentally, you're having social meals every single day now. Again, this will be relevant to you as an individual and how much your goal means to you. So if you are having cheat meals, off-plan meals, social meals, whatever you want to call them, daily, then probably best clicking off this channel right now. I'm joking, stay if you want. Fitness isn't punishment, it's about balance, structure and control. And this is something that we teach my guys on the team throughout the coaching process, that once we've done with like a fat loss phase or a dieting phase, we want to start to include that kind of social aspect to meals out and enjoying food with friends and family and your partner. Because I've dieted for 6 months and there wasn't, maybe 1 or 2. There was 1 or 2 meals within 6 months that I had with people. Okay, everything else was very much just me. And if you are dieting towards a fat loss goal or a photo shoot or even on stage, you'll understand that you can feel a bit isolated. Everyone else is going out for food. You're eating sat by yourself, or you're taking your own food somewhere while you're eating around other people. You can feel a bit, isolating. But this is why we teach within the journey. But once you've done that phase, we learn to kind of reintroduce that flexibility, but not get carried away with it, where some people will take a mile when you give them an inch. So why they are okay within moderation. So when to obviously use social meals, obviously firstly to improve like your overall adherence. In a building phase, for example, I will have an off-plan meal once per week, maybe sometimes twice per week. It depends how much kind of I've got on in the calendar. But that just allows me to have something to look forward to. And again, if you're following a meal plan, you should really be enjoying it anyway. You shouldn't be like, oh, thank God I've got one off-plan meal this week. If you're not enjoying the foods that you're currently on in your diet, I would strongly suggest you change them, because I enjoy all of my meals every single day. And this is why I don't necessarily crave or even necessarily want an off-plan meal every single week. I really enjoy my foods. So if you are struggling with your diet, have a look at what your meals are. And if you don't enjoy them, take them out and put something in that you enjoy. There'll be something in there that will fit your macros, I can guarantee you that. It gives you something to look forward to. I think this is the best one for most people. If we are working all week, as in work, and we're training and we're sticking to our meal plan, and not necessarily the meal, but you're enjoying going out, or you're looking forward to enjoying going out in a social setting. You're going out for a meal with the missus, your partner, your family, your friends. It's nice to look forward to. There's nothing wrong with it. And it can also help you stay consistent for the rest of the week as well. So if you've got that one, if you are someone who really does struggle with dieting, but you've got something at the end of the week to look forward to, and again, it doesn't have to be like a full-on 5K meal or big ass pizza to kind of ruin all your progress within the week. but it can be something that's a nice, relatively congruent meal towards your goals. And it can be something that helps you stay adherent for the rest of the week then as well. So the quality of your nutrition will dictate the quality of your condition, your muscle, and your overall result. So if you eat like shit, you're going to look like shit. If you eat good foods, you're going to look good. Simple as that. When do they best fit? So in a building phase, as I'm currently in, there's a lot more flexibility. Calories are higher. I'm not necessarily chasing a certain look, certain scale weight, certain body fat percentage. I'm not trying to get stage lean. Okay, so I can have more flexibility and freedom at this time of the year when I'm in a building phase for a good portion of the year. You know, I'm going out this weekend. I'm going away next week. Again, I can be a little bit more sparing with my foods, but just not being a dick at the same time. Okay. In a dieting phase, obviously, ideally keep them minimal, you know, unless it's maybe like for a refeed purpose, but even then you'd probably still be having the foods that you're currently on so you can get the biofeedback that you need, not just put in a random Five Guys for the sake of it. And of course, you know, if you really desperately need one within a dieting phase, I think you need to assess how much you want the result. And again, if you know, it depends where you're at. It's all relevant to where you're currently at. If you're a week out from a show or a photo shoot, you're probably not in the best position to have one. Okay? If you've just started a diet and you've got something coming up, like a wedding, or your mum's birthday, or your dad's birthday, and you want to have some nice food with the family, and you're only a week or two into your diet, that's fine as well. It's just, it depends where it is. It's all very subjective data at the minute. Don't just have one for the sake of it. And this is something that I massively learned within my last building phase that I did last year. That is, you know, I could have one per week, but there were some weeks where it was like, well, I don't necessarily need one. You know, say for example, if Hannah was out, my fiance, and she was going out with her friends, and my friends were busy or my family were busy, and I was just sat in by myself, I wouldn't just sit there and have an off-plan meal by myself when I enjoy the foods that I'm already eating. So, you know, if I'm just sitting in playing FIFA by myself, I'm not going to be like, oh, I'm going to order a pizza because I get one off-plan meal per week. Because going back to what I've just said, I enjoy the foods that I eat daily anyway. And what I did find is the more that I stuck to my meals, even like that one off-plan meal that I might have had sometimes, it would just make so much more for consistent progress. Like the scale weight would always be in my favour the next morning. There was no kind of sudden spikes or sudden urges to then have more shit food after I'd eaten that meal. And I say shit food, I'd only ever get like a Nando's or maybe like a pizza that you can see on the screen. So yeah, save them for social meals, save them for birthdays, meals out, special events. The reason many people don't see the results they want is because they're just having them for the sake of it, and this can be very transferable into a building phase as well. Like if you are on a build, and something that I've made the mistake of in the past is just being like, yeah, I can eat what I want. I'm just trying to put weight on. As long as I'm getting stronger, I'm building muscle, whereas that is simply not the case. Okay, like I say, if your goal truly matters to you, you won't feel that like you need to treat yourself every single week. The treat is you being in the best shape of your life. The treat is, you know, staying disciplined and to keeping to your word. The treat is building good habits. There's, you know, treats. Why do treats always have to be either shit food, sweets, chocolate? Why can't the treat be living healthier, feeling better, having better skin? Which we're not going to talk about my skin at the minute, actually. Maybe I should sort something out there. Maybe I'm eating cheat meals every day. Anyway, my personal approach. During this building phase, I've stayed in much better condition already. Okay, I'm probably, what am I now? 5 months post-show, and 5 months post last diet or post last photo shoot, I would have been pretty soft by now. But as you can see from this picture, and I actually think it's improved since then, this was probably about 6 weeks ago, I've actually managed to hold abs for maybe not for the first time, but for a good while within a building phase on this amount of food at this body weight. And that is just, again, proof in the pudding that your nutrition, your adherence to your foods, even in a building phase, will dictate how you look from a body composition perspective, okay? Don't use a building phase as an excuse just to eat shit and put weight on, because your body just won't be as responsive either. Yes, it doesn't matter too much if you're not shredded, but a good sign that your body's still in a responsive position is if you can hold relatively good condition. You can still see a bit of vascularity coming through. You can still see lines and, you know, between your muscles and insertions. If you're just blowing up straight away, your body's not going to be in a responsive position. So therefore, you're just going to accumulate more body fat, and all that food that's going in that should be, you know, more directed towards muscle growth is just going to be a push more towards fat storage. which is not what we want, because then you're just wasting time. You're just eating for the sake of it and spinning your wheels and going through the motions. And the reason why is because I've not been a dick with food. I've eaten social meals when I've needed to, but there's some weekends where we've had nothing on, and I think if you've watched the previous video for Chris's show day, there was no reason for me to eat off plan. My client Chris was competing, all his foods were prepped. I went by myself, so why would I not prep all my foods? Simple as that. And I've kept structure, stayed consistent, and chosen my moments wisely. So yeah, that basically just means that if I know I've got something coming up, like a holiday that we've just been on, we're going on holiday again next week actually to New York, so obviously that's going to be pretty food, I'm not going to say food focused, but there's going to be a lot of food there available. If you've ever been to America, you'll know. But again, it's just, and we'll document this in another video for New York, but it's just not being an idiot when it comes to like, oh, I'm in New York, so I need to try this, I need to try that. Whereas a lot of people would be like that. And that's why a lot of people complain when they get home and they're 10, 15, 20 pounds up. Maybe not 20, that's hopefully drastic. Anyway, choose your desire. You can't have both. Well, you kind of can in a way. So regular social, oh yeah, this is kind of different. Regular social food for short-term satisfaction, or a physique you're proud of that lasts way longer than a subpar meal ever will. Discipline now, pride later. You don't need a social meal every week to feel normal. If you truly enjoy your plan, you'll never feel restricted. Control your meals, don't let them control you. So just to kind of summarize on this, and it's very similar to the video that we did in, when you're in the dieting phase versus when you're in a building phase. If you're dieting at the minute, just accept that, off-plan foods are going to be a little bit less regular. When you're in a building phase, you can have that extra flexibility. And this is what we always try and nail in with the KJE guys is, in the diet we work, yeah, we've got a job to do. We will have more flexibility. So let's just say, for argument's sake, for 4 months of the year when we're dieting, maybe 5, 6, we're going to be a little bit more strict. For the other 8 months of the year, we can be a bit more flexible, okay? And if you can't kind of find a nice balance with that, then you're just in the wrong game. And like I've said, every time I say this on the video, if you're in that position now where you're like, oh, but I really love food, I really want, I want a Nando's 5 times a week. I don't think anyone's having a Nando's 5 times a week, but you know what I mean. I want off-plan food all the time. But then I also want the best physique ever. You can't have both, son. So just learn to just control what it is that you want, firstly, and just get into a position where you know when you need to turn it on and you know when you can be more flexible. Simple as that. So hopefully this video has helped. And just to summarize, don't demonize certain food groups for a start. An off-plan meal isn't the worst thing in the world if you're in the right phase. Rephrase it, call it a social meal, and just know when to have them and when not. Like if you don't need an off-plan meal every single week, don't have it. Okay, if you're at a social event, then by all means have it, and just make it fit around your macros and calories as well. Food is just food. It will still fit into your macros. You can go out for a McDonald's and still fit it into your macros for the day. Just be smart of where you take your macros elsewhere throughout that day. I would never take away from around the workout window, but you could easily take away some fats and carbs from breakfast, lunch, and your evening meal. Simple as that. If you have any questions in regards to this video, please do let me know. I will be doing a video very shortly, but if you are new to this channel, or if you're watching this and you've watched this far, I'm not going to drop anything just yet, but if you look in the description below, you'll probably have a good guess at what the next video is going to be about. See you in the next one.